Welcome back to the Build a Workshop series. Today I'm going to be getting the ventilation worked on for the roof and also get some insulation installed. Now I have to admit, whenever I was planning the building, I did not want to put ventilation up here, but it really is necessary. So I'm kind of backtracking a little bit and I'll show you what I mean. If you look at the very top of the building, there is about a ½ inch gap between that block and the OSB. And that is an air gap that goes up to the ridge cap outside. And so there is ventilation in here that will allow air to get out of the building. I'm not entirely sure that's going to be enough, so I will likely come back and put a gable vent right here in this little triangle on both the front and back sides of the building. As you can see right here, there's also blocks that separate this sheet of OSB to this sheet. I'm drilling holes in this to allow flow from the soffit through here and up to the ridge. So you can see I already have one panel done. So I'm going to be installing these soffit vents here. I'm going to put 3 on each side. Basically they're just a piece of metal with slits to allow air to flow through. And then to allow air to pass from the soffit all the way up and not interfere with the insulation, I'm going to be installing these styrofoam pieces. This side will go up against the roof, and there is a channel that allows airflow, and so the insulation will be up against this back side. So as you can see, it's not the most ideal ventilation solution, but I believe it's going to work. So first I'm going to take the drill and head up the ladder and start getting the holes through all of these here to allow cross venting between all of the trusses. So I just have a drill with a 3/8 bit here, and I'm going to be sticking it into this crack down in here, and just going to be putting a couple of holes through here to hopefully allow some cross breathing here. Now this blocking here also needs to have 2 holes, 1 on each side, put in to allow air to go from the soffit up to the ridge. So I'm just going to take my drill again and put 2 holes on the left and right side. Now I have these styrofoam pieces that I'm going to get installed here. And I'm just going to use a staple to hold this into place until I get the insulation up here. I have 2x4 construction here on my roof, and whenever I add those styrofoam pieces, it brings it in about 1.5 inches. So there's not nearly enough room for my R13 insulation to have its full expansion in here. So what I'm doing is using a 1.5 inch, basically it's a 2x4 ripped down in half, and I am installing this onto the previous rafter or truss, and that way it extends it 1.5 inches for my insulation. Ideally, in a roof, you'd have no less than 9 inches of insulation, but for my case here, all I have room for is R13, so 3.5 inches is what we got. I'm going to go ahead and cut this down to 86 inches here. There we have 2 full sections finished there, and as you can see, I've got a long ways to go before this is done. My next step is to go out and get the soffit vents installed, and then lastly get the ridge vent installed on the gable end up there. To install my soffit vents, I'm going to be using this 2 1/8 inch hole saw, and that is the size that I need for this small ventilation port here. So I'm gonna try and get 3 of these installed along the lower side here, and it should hopefully vent out enough of that hot air up on the ridge and on the gable ends to get the heat down up in the attic space. So anyway, let's climb up the ladder and get this done. I'm going to use my mask because the dust from this hardy board is not good to breathe in. I placed a piece of duct tape over this vent so that I can go inside and caulk this into place. Well, this tiny crack may be a little bit too close for the camera to zoom in on, but I'm just going to get some caulking in here. I'm going to have to use my finger to spread it into place because it's just too tight quarters to do anything else with here. So let's see about getting this. That should be enough in there to get that into place. This thing doesn't weigh much, so it shouldn't take much to get it locked down. Well, it's nice to have those vents in. I can't finish the gable end until I have my sheathing finished outside. I just have that one little triangle left up top here. But it is nice to have some insulation started, and I'm looking forward to getting all of this finished up. Thank you so much for watching. If you've got some great ventilation tips, I would love to hear them. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.